I think what sends cases the wrong direction in mediation, at least when it comes to equitable distribution, is people trying to nickel dime everything.
I agree.
And what she spent 5 years ago.
I agree.
Or my mother gave us a loan for $1,000 back in 1998. Like, sir, no, like, get over it.
Welcome to the Exit Strategy, your no bullshit guide to divorce with the experienced attorneys from New Direction Family Law. Unfiltered discussions to help you move from victim to victorious and from bitter to better.
Hello, I'm Sarah Hink from New Direction Family Law, and I'm here with Elizabeth Stevenson.
I'm Sarah's partner at New Direction Family Law, and we are here to talk about all things about divorce, separation, kids, money, finances, all the fun stuff that goes along with separating and divorce.
Yeah, so one of the more boring aspects, but also very important, is the division of property, which in North Carolina we refer to as equitable distribution.
Correct.
Equitable, not equal, but
Equitable.
Equitable.
What's fair and what's right and what's reasonable.
But most attorneys will tell you that in most cases you're going to divide it equally, 50-50.
I agree.
So you're back to the the equal anyways. But there are some factors that can swing one way or the other. But in general, what are we talking about in the property sense?
I think that the easiest way to explain it is, and it's hard to wrap their head around this, is that whatever was earned or whatever was acquired as debt during the marriage, from the date of marriage to the date of separation, is at first considered marital. So even if you're the one that went out and earned the $1 million that you have in your 401k, your wife or husband is going to be at the top entitled to half of that as
Correct.
a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter whose name it's in. It matters when you acquired it, whether it's a bank account, a retirement account, a car, doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I think about too, like the date of separation is the date that we value everything.
Correct.
So you kind of do a freeze frame on what you had.
Right.
Like, what did you have in the bank account? What was your house worth? You know, what kind of cars did you have? What kind of debt did you have?
Right.
And that's really the most simple way to think about it. And as long as all that was acquired during the marriage, just to make it easy, so you got married young, and then everything you have at the end of the day was marital, then we're going to divide all that up.
And we're just going to divide it in half, more than likely. I mean, that's a court starting point. They can certainly look at, some factors for an unequal distribution. Did you stay at home? Did you let the other partner go and, make a career? All of that. But it's really, I don't know how much that matters so much anymore at that point.
I've seen court orders maybe swing it 5%.
But it's not going to be 95 to 5 by any means.
Marital misconduct doesn't matter.
Unless you were a spendthrift or you're spending money on your paramour or your girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's still a small factor.
Yeah.
That would be factored in there.
Right.
Sometimes we have done a podcast about bad mistakes that you make during divorce, and one of them I think is because we value it the date of separation. You can go take money out the day before the date of separation and think that it's not going to be counted as because it wasn't there on the date of separation.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
It's not how it works. So, I mean, you can do it, but you're going to have to owe half of it back at some point. More than likely.
Or have people go and get a new car and finance a new car right before the date of separation, and then try to stick the other person with that liability. And it's kind of like, no, we can see through that and understand exactly what happened.
Right. So, what was acquired during the marriage is starting point marital property, but you can get separate property. You can get property that would not be entitled to the other party to have a portion of, and that would be what we call separate property, which would be what?
Well, if it's during the marriage, it's probably inheritance.
Right.
You kept it in a separate account.
Right.
If it's something that you had before the marriage, so if you've been working at the same job for 25 years and have a retirement account and you've been married for the last 5 years of it, then we're going to have to, back out the premarital contributions and growth on that to figure out what the marital part is. Right.
Same thing with a house. You may have owned a house. You guys moved into it. You refinance, put everybody on the mortgage. Where the person who owned it is going to get credit. You're going to value it at the date of separation, and you'll get some credit for that. So it won't be. So that's an instance where it wouldn't be 50-50 per se.
Yeah.
In that
separate
respect.
Property carve out.
Right. Same debt. Like if you have education debt and stuff, you had before. Or even if I've seen this before, where you would acquire. One guy acquired almost $500,000 in education debt. but it didn't benefit the marriage because they got it so late and never got a job with it. It's just what they wanted to do. I mean, the judge went, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not putting that on this. You're taking all that debt,
Right.
in that respect. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of case law on these caveats about certain debts and property that can get a little messy, like the ownership of a house before marriage. But say you bought it like 30 days before you got married, then lived in it together for 15 years and everyone contributed to the mortgage. Right. Well, there's going to be a part of that that's going to be marital.
Right. And a large part of it's going to be marital if you only had it for that short period.
It's a little messy. And then businesses.
Oh, yeah.
When our business is acquired, how much money's in the business.
What percentage of your partnership is the business.
Yeah.
All of that. So it's really helpful if you'll, especially if you have even if you don't have a large estate, but if you have a business, you own a home, you have retirement, it's helpful to have attorneys to help you. I mean, I've had a case that the folks 20 some years ago did a separation agreement, pulled it off the internet, and we've been in litigation over it forever because there are things in there that are just so messed up.
Yeah.
So if you'll spend a little money on the front end, you can save a lot of money on the back end.
Right. I have had a couple of those last year too. I mean, people just think they're smarter than everyone. And
well, I think they just don't want, like, oh, we don't need an attorney. We don't have a lot. But I mean, it can be a lot, you know.
But yeah.
Especially if it's alimony and property and busises.
Well, I see cases where people do have a lot and they still don't hire an attorney. I'm like, what were you thinking? Or they think they're going to pull a fast one on the other spouse.
Right.
And they do, and the other spouse signs, and you got to figure out, okay, well, how do we get you out of this terrible contract that you've agreed to?
Right. Well, and another podcast, but maybe a prenup would be helpful or a postnup. But either way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's generally what equitable distribution is. It's just valuing the debt and the property assets during marriage, including houses, bank accounts,
personal property, like what's in the house,
Bitcoins,
guns, whatever.
Yeah.
All of that. Dogs, cats.
Yeah. What are they worth? They aren't custody, that's for sure.
They're personal property.
They're property.
They are property.
Yeah, mine are all rescues, so I guess they aren't going to be worth
Can't put a value
much
on that, but
yeah, but some people do.
Some
people do. They'll show up with their kennel papers for a dog.
I know.
Fight over that.
Hey guys, it's Cam with New Direction Family Law, and if you yourself have been through a divorce or you know someone that's contemplating divorce, then you know how important it is to make sure that you know your legal rights or your friend knows their legal rights and options to help develop the best plan for them and their family moving forward. At New Direction Family Law, we have over 80 years of combined experience protecting the rights of our clients in family law matters. We aggressively advocate, we aggressively support, and we absolutely educate our clients to achieve the best possible outcome. So if you know someone or you yourself are facing these questions or contemplating separation or divorce, give us a call to schedule an initial consultation today. You can reach us at 919-719-3470 on our website at newdirectionfamilylaw.com, or you can click the link in the episode description.
If you do file a claim and start a lawsuit for a property division, in North Carolina, you're required to go to mediation with the private mediator, which always 99.9% of cases, for the most part, will settle in mediation. If you can get people to mediation, I think you can likely get the case settled and not have to go to court.
Yeah, I think that's a little on the high side, your percentage, but...
Well, maybe.
Maybe
I'm just really good at mediation. I don't know, but anything you can do to avoid going to court and not getting, screwed per se.
Right.
And be able to compromise and come to an agreement that both of you feel comfortable with, that everybody has to give up something and leave equally unhappy.
Yeah.
That's a good outcome for folks.
And I think what sends cases the wrong direction in mediation, at least when it comes to equitable distribution, is people trying to nickel and dime everything.
I agree.
And what she spent 5 years ago.
I agree.
Or my mother gave us a loan for $1,000 back in 1998. Like, sir, no, get over it.
Or up at the whole, you may have put $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 down on the down payment, and we appreciate that. But you're not going to get that back dollar for dollar.
That's when mediation goes downhill. And it's not like a judge is going to want to hear all that either.
No, the judge wants to know what was the value when the date you separated, whose name was it in, and who am I going to distribute it to?
And they're not going to be concerned with little nickel and dimes. I've had cases where they appoint a referee to decide between personal property, like your tangible assets in your house, who gets the rice cooker. Like,
don't do that.
Judges don't want to deal with that. They will literally appoint a third party to go to your house and be like, okay, you get that, you get that.
And they're going to put a yard sale value on it. You know, people with bedroom suits that they bought 20 years ago, $5,000. It's like, no, maybe 50.
I don't want to hear about. I don't want to hear anything about it. In most of my cases.
No, personal property, unless it's like, you know, nice antiques, Oriental rugs, or whatever. That's different. But for the most part, no.
If you can go out and get an appraisal on it that shows that it's worth substantial money, then I'll hear it out.
Right. And this thing's like, some do like I've had one comic books or whatever, like first edition that was like, okay, well, yeah, go get it. But you got to go get it valued.
Yeah.
And if you want to spend the money to do that, that's great.
That's on you.
You
might have to get your house valued. And, you know, especially now things have changed in the housing market.
Right.
So they're not going to be worth as much as you thought they were, or they were a couple years ago.
Right.
Get an appraisal. But even those, I think right now it's kind of hard because there's not a clear number that people are putting on houses. Like they're moving slower. So like, what is the house worth now? It's kind of an unknown.
Well, you get an appraisal, but you don't know.
Yeah.
No, the easiest part, a lot of times people just, you know, well, let's just sell it. And then whatever it sells for is what it's worth. And then you just divide it up.
That's right. You're going to have to sell your under 3% finance mortgage, which really sucks.
Well, that's the other issue about property is, you know, especially if you have kids or you've lived there, a lot of people they're emotionally attached to their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to help them come to an understanding that you may not be able to afford to live there, you know, that yes, you may be able to refinance, and then you're going to have to pay out the $50,000 you owe to the other party. And so you're adding that to your mortgage at 6% instead of 2%. And so you're not going to be able to afford that mortgage payment.
Yeah, your monthly amount changes. Not that like going out there and renting is much cheaper these days.
You know, it's always also sell it. You go buy something else and you can start fresh. I mean, you know, and not leave every memories perhaps, but bad memories too. Yeah. And you get a new fresh start and start all over again.
Not enough sage sometimes to get out all those demons from the house you had and memories and all of that.
Agreed. Yeah. But sometimes you just got to let it go, and it's not going to work out the way you think it is.
Yeah,
you know?
I understand wanting to stay there for the kids.
I do too.
They're already getting a new home, so then they'd get 2 new homes if everyone's moving.
My kids are resilient.
Make it fun for them.
Yeah, no. Let's go pick out new furniture. Come on, we'll paint your bedroom. All of that.
Yeah,
so there are ways to get around it for sure.
Yeah. So another topic on equitable distribution is like that debt, and that's a hard thing for people to deal with too. I've had cases where we literally just fight over debt.
So. Sometimes it's worth fighting over, especially, you know, you find debt that you didn't know was out there.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. You know, if it was acquired during the marriage, it's going to be marital debt.
It was debt all spent on like hookers and cocaine or something like that.
Well, you know, but if it's your Gap card and and your Saks card and your husband didn't know about it or your wife didn't know about it, too bad. I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
You know, you didn't look, you didn't take the opportunity to see or ask. So
you can't buy cocaine with Gap cards, so you know you're safe there. But that's really the only thing where you're going to say, okay, well, that debt's your separate debt is when it's spent for something clearly not for the benefit of the marriage.
Correct.
Although
but that's, you know, what is that? You know,
but you know, the rule is actually you're supposed to assume that credit card debt in a person's separate name is separate. You have to show that it's for the benefit of the marriage, which is really easy. But it's just the presumption first is like that it wasn't.
Right.
But it's very easy to show.
Yes, I agree.
Buying your own clothes is for the benefit of the marriage.
Yes, especially if you're working or buying clothes for the kids or whatever that may be.
But it's tough when someone spends a lot on the credit card and you want nothing to do with it. Maybe you're, you know, more financially savvy, and that's what caused the end of the marriage. I've seen plenty of people that separate due to financial stress.
I agree.
But you're still going to have to cover half of that.
I agree.
Unless you can negotiate otherwise.
Right. And part of going with debt is what happens. You know, a lot of times we'll say you can stay in the house and they're going to pay the mortgage. But what happens if they don't pay the mortgage and you're on the mortgage? Well, then that's going to ding your credit, and you really don't want that to happen, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to sort of counsel people to say, we can do this, but if he doesn't pay, you're going to have to pay, and we need to figure out how you're going to do that.
Yeah, so that's why we want to separate all those ties
that's
there,
right.
get you off the mortgage.
Right.
Car payments, you know, a lot of cars are underwater.
Right. Get your name, and even insurance. It's like you want to get off the insurance because if they get in a wreck, and they're going to come after you, you're going to be liable too. So, you know.
Medical bills.
Yes. Absolutely. Medical bills.
Yeah.
So without something signed, like a separation agreement, you're still on the hook for it. If they can't pay, they're going to come looking for you.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's just a huge thing to think about.
Right.
And hopefully you have assets to divide and not all debt. But I mean, I've seen people
I've
just
seen
spend
that.
a ton of money on attorneys just fighting over
debt.
just debt.
You know, at the end of the day, I don't know.
And people file for bankruptcy, which is a whole other topic. We'll have to do an episode on bankruptcy and how it affects.
Yes, we will.
Not today. We'll get a bankruptcy attorney in.
Yes, we will do that.
Although I did well in bankruptcy class in law school.
Did you?
But I left it there.
I've had a couple of cases where the opposing party did bankruptcy, which infuriates, your client because now they don't have to pay all that debt, but you're still on for your half of it. But
Yeah, we'll do an episode on
yeah,
that.
we will. That's a good idea.
But just know that it's important to have a separation agreement, deal with property before you go through with the absolute divorce, because that does release your claim for equitable distribution and through the court system. So if you have a house together, if you have debt together in the same name, make sure that you talk to an attorney. Make sure you deal with that property before that year and a day comes up and you file for divorce.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
As always, ain't that some shit?
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review. You can visit us online at newdirectionfamilylaw.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Exit Strategy _podcast or email us at exitstrategy@newdirectionfamilylaw.com. We'll be back next week with more no bullshit content about life, divorce, parenting, relationships, and everything in between.